Lesson 11.11.
Welcome to today's lesson, boys and girls. Today's lesson is 11.11. Equal shares, problem solving. Let's take a look at today's essential question. How can drawing a diagram help when solving problems about equal shares? Let's think about that for a second. How can drawing a diagram help when you're solving a problem about equal shares? Let's take a look at our example. There are two sandwiches that are the same size. Each sandwich is divided into fourths, but the sandwiches are cut differently. How might the two sandwiches be cut? That's one to think about, all right. Let's unlock the problem. First, what do I need to find? Well, they've given us the answer. We need to find how the sandwiches could be cut. And as I said, they're going to be divided into fourths. What information do I need to use? So there are two sandwiches, and each sandwich will be divided into fourths. So since each sandwich is cut into fourths, but in different ways, we need to figure out two different ways to divide the sandwiches. Does anyone know how to solve this problem? Let's try this. What if we cut the first sandwich into squares and the second sandwich into triangles? I always think sandwiches taste better when they're in the shape of a triangle. So here we have two sandwiches, each cut differently, but still each one is cut into fourths, with each piece being exactly the same size and the same shape. All right, let's turn to page 766. Hey, but why eat a sandwich when you can eat a pizza pie? Oh, pizzas are delicious. For page 766, let's do this one together. Draw to show your answer. And remember, we need to keep in mind, what do I need to find to answer the question, and what information do I need to use? The first problem reads, Marquise has two square sheets of paper that are the same size. He wants to cut each sheet into halves. What are two different ways he can cut the sheets of paper? So here they have two sheets of paper for us, represented with these squares, and we need to figure out two different ways to cut them into equal halves. I think this one's pretty simple. We could cut them lengthwise, or we could cut them through the middle. And that gives us two halves of the paper. And of course, a third way we could have done it was by going diagonally. Let's take a look at number 2. Shanice has two pieces of cloth that are the same size. She needs to divide each piece into thirds. What are two different ways she can divide the pieces of cloth? So we're going to take these two rectangles and divide them into thirds in two different ways. So now let's think of two different ways we could divide these rectangles into thirds. I think one way would be we could go up and down. And the other way, we could go sideways. Yep, I think that works. All right, let's turn to page 767. For this page, you'll do these three problems on your own, and then check your answers with me. So at this time, you can go ahead and hit pause on the video, complete the page, and when you're ready to check your answers, press play. All right, you're ready to check your answers. Question 3 reads, Brandon has two pieces of toast that are the same size. What are two different ways he can divide the pieces of toast into halves? This one probably didn't take you very long to figure out. First one in halves and the second one in halves. Did yours match mine? Let's take a look at number 4. Mr. Riviera has 2 small trays of pasta that are the same size. What are 2 different ways he can cut the pasta into fourths? Did somebody say a pasta? Well, since it's pasta, I'm assuming maybe it's a tray of lasagna. All right, so let's divide it into fourths. Well, just like we did on the last page, we could do it into triangles, or perhaps into nice rectangular slices. Number 5. Did you watch the Math on the Spot video? I hope you did. All right, Erin has 2 ribbons that are the same size. What are 2 different ways she can divide the ribbons into thirds? And as we did on the last page, we could either go side to side or up and down. Not too hard. Let's move on to the next page. For page 768, let's take a look at number 6. David needs to divide 2 pieces of paper into the same number of equal parts. Look at how the first piece of paper is divided. Show how to divide the second piece of paper in a different way. This shouldn't be too hard. We just did something similar to it on the last 2 pages. How about if we made a plus sign in the middle? Number 7. Mrs. Lee has 2 sandwiches that are the same size. She cuts each sandwich into halves. How many equal parts does she have in all? So as our essential question for today said, how can drawing a diagram help us solve these problems? Let's go ahead and draw 2 sandwiches. And then let's divide them into equal parts. So now we have to count the parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. So by cutting each sandwich into halves, 2 sandwiches would give us 4 equal parts. Number 8. Emma wants to cut a piece of paper into fourths. Fill in the bubble next to all the ways she could cut the paper. So taking a look at our 4 examples, fill in the dots next to the rectangles that are divided into 4 equal parts. I'll give you 10 seconds. Here's your bubble music. Time is up. All right, hopefully you colored in the first one and you colored in the last one. Only those 2 are divided into 4 equal parts. This one is 3 equal parts. This one, the parts aren't even equal. So you shouldn't have done anything to the middle 2. And that completes today's math lesson. Go ahead and complete the next page, 769 and 770. Take a photo of them and upload them into Seesaw. And that concludes today's math lesson.